The Leafs 3-0. You had a feeling something would change. The mood obviously quickly changed. What's sticking out to you the most about the last 3 games that maybe has surprised you?
Well, just maybe how quickly it's all gone on a switch. And you know, let's face it, there's still a honeymoon feeling aspect to this, I'm sure. You know, it's hard to make any declarative statements about, you know, even systematic changes. You know, I know what they want to do over time, but, you know, it was literally night and day from last Wednesday in Arizona when Mike Babcock was fired to Thursday. And you know, obviously the team then beat 2 pretty good teams and the Coyotes and Avalanche, and then, you know, walked over the worst team in the league in the Red Wings last night. And, you know, this has just been a breath of fresh air for the group. I don't think I would have guessed that it feels like all the problems got solved. And you know, as I say, I know it's not as simple as that. Over time, we'll probably get a better understanding of the differences between the coaches and what's going on. But, you know, the mood really has, you know, changed around the Leafs, and then getting a few wins makes everything better for them as well.
So Sid and I disagree, as per usual, in terms of how much this is a referendum on Mike Babcock and a real true appraisal of Sheldon. And there have been some changes, and let us know how tangible they are. Things like having the 2 sheets of ice for practice and working on skill development and having some music at practice. And you mentioned in your story the fact that he took down the quote in the locker room, "It's a privilege, not a right." Those things, are they small, or do they actually make a tangible difference?
Well, I think what's the difference is where the group got with Mike Babcock is that they're almost like oil and water. You know, that's how it was described to me. I think some people have probably overstated how much the players dislike Mike Babcock, but I do think they reached a point where, you know, he was a very rigid coach. He was reluctant to change things. He was reluctant to try a lot of things. And that wore on some of the players that had played for him for, you know, 4 years with the organization. And so, you know, I think what Sheldon Keefe has done, and it's probably what most coaches should do in this type of situation, is he's kind of been open to some new things. He's you know, switching up. You know, Tyson Barrie immediately goes to the first power play unit. He plays Nick Shore in his hometown when they were in Denver, and says that's the reason he's doing it, and sees the guy go and score. He's starting Michael Hutchinson tomorrow. You know, when Mike Babcock always was starting Frederick Anderson to start a back-to-back. I think he's showing that he's willing to do new things, and that covers the practice routine in the whole bit. And that, for the guys, that seem to loosen them up and, you know, has them excited, has their attention for the time being. And so, you know, I do think that there is a tangible difference there, because let's face it, I think there's a lot of reasons why the Leafs were in the position they were when Mike Babcock got fired, but they had underperformed at that point. You know, there was injuries, there was schedule, there was lots of things that contributed to that, but, you know, this was still a pretty good team that wasn't clicking at the level they should, and you know, we've seen a lot better play from them in the 3 games since he was let go, and you know, I do think some of that is just you know, maybe taking some of the pressure off them, or you know, the pressure relief valve has been pushed, and you know, as I say, over time that could change. It could be a bad thing, but in the moment, it's unquestionable to me that, you know, the best players in this team are really firing. They feel like they have a new lease on what they're doing, and you know, offensively they've been very good in these 3 games.
Well, specifically, the guy who's been really good in these 3 games has been Tyson Barrie. After not scoring in the first 23, scores in 3 straight. First Leaf to do that since Thomas Carbolet, Sid's stunt double. What is the actual difference in his game? Is it just that he's playing more power play minutes and having more time on the other side, or is there a change in philosophy that's helped unleash him?
No, I think psychologically there's been a shift for him. And look, this went really poorly for Tyson Barrie through 23 games, to the point where, you know, he may not have asked for a trade, but there was at least some open discussion about the fact that might have to happen, because he's in a contract year and it wasn't working the way it was being used. And you know, the minute Sheldon Keefe came in, he starts him the very first face-off in Arizona, you know, with Morgan Riley. He's been told to show his creativity more. And I think especially on the first 2 goals he scored, the one against the Coyotes and the one against the Avalanche, you saw him, you know, driving deep into the zone and you know, I think playing with a little bit more, maybe unfair to call it reckless abandon, but without the fear to make a play. And, you know, I'm not going to pin that all on Mike Babcock, because I don't think it's that simple. But clearly in the early part of the year, I think he was afraid to make a mistake, wasn't sure exactly what was being asked of him, and wasn't being put in the situations, you know, to be at his best. And he's definitely seen a change in the way he feels, and I think his outlook on what's possible now for his time in Toronto. And then he gets a good bounce on his goal last night, so it just shows you sometimes you go through those crazy stretches, and then you get a bit of better play, which led to his first couple goals, and then he gets a good bounce, and all of a sudden you almost forget that it was only a week and a half ago that all seemed lost for him as a Maple Leaf.